Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. Tonight I'm going to give a poetry reading from Claude McKay. I have done a couple of readings previously featuring the sonnets of Claude McKay, and so tonight I'm going to go into other of his poems, all taken from his selected poems. I have on the bookcase over there his complete poems. It is not the book I would recommend to anybody who is interested in delving more deeply into the works of this great American poet. And I use those words precisely. He is a contemporary of T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot was born in St. Louis and moved to London. Claude McKay was born in Jamaica and moved to the United States. He had a bit of a, peregrinaceous life, so he did not stay in one place. There is a marvelous biography of him by Wayne Cooper. Others have been written, but I am familiar with that one, and I read recently that it remains the best. He spent some time in Chicago and even died in Chicago, I believe. And has always been a big influence on my poetry. Just 2 days ago, I did a reading from my book, The Soul's Refinement, and one of the poems that I read was about my experience working at the collector's office in Evanston. And when I finished reading that, I have not been in touch with any of these old poems in many, many years. When I finished reading that, I realized, oh my gosh, the imprint of Claude McKay on that lyric is unmistakable. McKay wrote poems about his jobs, about the odiousness of having to wake up and go to work in the morning. And he really, unlike Eliot, he opened up a whole vista of possibilities for the writer of English verse, particularly in the United States, I think. I don't know how much or how far his influence has percolated into the rest of the English-speaking world. It is said that Winston Churchill read his great poem, If We Must Die, to the House of Commons during the Second World War, but that is unverified. It may be hearsay. Nevertheless, that poem did travel far, I believe. But beyond that, what kind of an impress his poetry and his reputation have had, it is hard to say. Of course, it is easy to assume, just because he had an overwhelming influence upon my own poetry, that it should be that case everywhere, but perhaps it is not so. It goes without saying that presently in the United States, a lot of people, particularly who subscribe to the white supremacist ideology, would say that Claude McKay came from a shithole country, and they would presently have him locked up in a concentration camp or have him sent abroad to some country perhaps which he had no relationship with and imprisoned there, or who knows, in a hospital there if he had been made sick while under ICE custody. All kinds of bad stories are occurring now in the news. And he is our great poet. T.S. Eliot, of course, is another great poet of our immediate forebears. T.S. Eliot is a hard act to follow in that he left little that is workable for another poet to take up. He did not leave much baton-wise for another writer to grab and run with, whereas Claude McKay did. So in lieu of any sonnets from this book, I will be reading non-sonnet material. This is the book that I recommend, the selected poems of Claude McKay. Flame Heart. So much I have forgotten in 10 years, so much in 10 brief years. I have forgot what time the purple apples come to juice, and what month brings the shy forget-me-not. I have forgot the special, startling season of the pimentos flowering and fruiting, what time of year the ground doves brown the fields and fill the noonday with their curious fluting. I have forgotten much, but still remember the poinsettias red, blood red, in warm December. I still recall the honey fever grass, but cannot recollect the high days when we rooted them out of the ping-wing path to stop the mad bees in the rabbit pen. I often try to think in what sweet month the languid painted ladies used to dapple the yellow by-road mazing from the main, sweet with the golden threads of the rose apple. I have forgotten, strange, but quite remember, the poinsettias red, blood red, in warm December. What weeks, what months, what time of the mild year we cheated school to have our fling at tops. What days our wine-thrilled bodies pulsed with joy, feasting upon blackberries in the copse. Oh, some I know, I have embalmed the days, even the sacred moments when we played, all innocent of passion, uncorrupt, at noon and evening in the flame heart's shade. We were so happy, happy, I remember, beneath the poinsettias red in warm December. So I will be reading mainly poems from the first section in the book. The book is divided, and the first section, Songs for Jamaica, consists mainly of home thoughts. Not entirely so. We do not know how many poets there are languishing in detention centers or concentration camps in the United States right now. The Easter Flower. Far from this foreign Easter, damp and chilly, my soul steals to a pear-shaped plot of ground where gleamed the lilac-tinted Easter lily, soft-scented in the air for yards around. Alone, without a hint of guardian leaf, just like a fragile bell of silver rhyme, it burst the tomb for freedom sweet and brief in the young pregnant year at Easter time. And many thought it was a sacred sign, and some called it the resurrection flower. And I, in wonder, worshipped at its shrine, yielding my heart unto its perfumed power. I think that most of his militant poems dealing with race relations in the United States, dealing with the events of Red September 1919, are those written in the sonnet form. These poems do not entirely evade such topics, to be sure, but particularly in this first section, there is a lot of home reminiscence, but then there are also Love lyrics. Spring in New Hampshire to JLJFE. Too green the springing April grass, too blue the silver speckled sky, for me to linger here, alas, while happy winds go laughing by, wasting the golden hours indoors, washing windows and scrubbing floors. Too wonderful the April night, too faintly sweet the first May flowers, the stars too gloriously bright for me to spend the evening hours, when fields are fresh and streams are leaping, wearied, exhausted, dully sleeping. The English language, of course, has been greatly enriched by the works and words of many immigrants. I'm talking both here and across the pond, as the word goes. Our tongue would be much poorer without the immigrant lyric, so to speak. But that said, Claude McKay is an American poet. I forget what year he received his naturalization papers, but he became a citizen. Even had he not, though, he would be an American poet, without a doubt, I think, without question. Summer morn in New Hampshire. All yesterday it poured, and all night long I could not sleep. The rain unceasing beat upon the shingled roof like a weird song, upon the grass like running children's feet. And down the mountains by the dark cloud kissed, like a strange shape in filmy veiling dressed, slid slowly, silently, the wraith-like mist, and nestled soft against the earth's wet breast. But lo, there was a miracle at dawn. The still air stirred at touch of the faint breeze. The sun a sheet of gold bequeathed the lawn. The songsters twittered in the rustling trees. And all things were transfigured in the day. But me, whom radiant beauty could not move, for you, more wonderful, were far away, and I was blind with hunger for your love. What a magnificent line. The whole poem, I mean, it is not easy to write this kind of thing. I don't think I have ever done something of this sort successfully. Next, one of my favorites, Suki River. Thou sweet-voiced stream that first gavest me drink, watched o'er me when I floated on thy breast. What black-faced boy now gambols on thy brink, or finds beneath thy rocks a place of rest? What naked lad doth linger long by thee, and run and tumble in the sun-scorched sand, or heed the pea-dove in the wild fig tree, while I am roaming in an alien land? No wonder that my heart is happy never, for I've been faithless to thee, Suki River. I shall love you ever, dearest Suki River. Dash against my broken heart, never more from you I'll part, but will stay forever, crystal Suki River. I cannot urge you strongly enough to go online to your preferred used book vendor of choice and hunt down a copy of the selected poems of Claude McKay. In the first edition, there is an introduction by somebody, I can't remember. It's not very good. In this reprint edition, it was taken out, and a lovely biographical note by Max Eastman was moved from the back to the front of the book. And as I say, there's nothing bad in here. I have lived with these poems for at least 3 decades and more, I am sure. And the poems hold up. They, if you are a young person, they will stay with you for the entirety of your life, and they will not diminish in their potency. Home swallows. Swift swallows sailing from the Spanish main. Oh, rain birds racing merrily away from hilltops parched with heat and sultry plain of wilting plants and fainting flowers. Say, when at the noon hour from the chapel school the children dash and scamper down the dale, scornful of teacher's rod and binding rule, forever broken and without avail. Do they still stop beneath the giant tree to gather locusts in their childish greed, and chuckle when they break the pods to see the golden powder clustered round the seed? It is the love poems that are my favorites, I think. To one coming north. At first, you'll joy to see the playful snow, like white moths trembling on the tropic air, or waters of the hills that softly flow, gracefully falling down a shining stair. And when the fields and streets are covered white, and the wind-worried void is chilly, raw, or underneath a spell of heat and light, the cheerless frozen spots begin to thaw. Like me, you'll long for home, where birds' glad song means flowering lanes and leas and spaces dry, and tender thoughts and feelings fine and strong beneath a vivid silver-flecked blue sky. But oh, more than the changeless southern isles, when spring has shed upon the earth her charm, you'll love the Northland wreathed in golden smiles, by the miraculous sun turned glad and warm. I mean, some of these lines almost feel like they're pushing the envelope on the saccharin, wreathed in golden smiles and that sort of thing. But there is a genuineness to all of this, and so it never caves into the maudlin. North and south. Oh, sweet are tropic lands for waking dreams. There time and life move lazily along. There by the banks of blue and silver streams, grass-sheltered crickets chirp incessant song. Gay-colored lizards loll all through the day, their tongues outstretched for careless little flies. And swarthy children in the fields at play look upward, laughing at the smiling skies. A breath of idleness is in the air that casts a subtle spell upon all things, and love and mating time are everywhere, and wonder to life's commonplaces clings. The fluttering hummingbird darts through the trees and dips his long beak in the big bell flowers. The leisured buzzard floats upon the breeze, riding a crescent cloud for endless hours. The sea beats softly on the emerald strands. Oh, sweet for quiet dreams are tropic lands. Home thoughts. Oh, something just now must be happening there, that suddenly and quiveringly here, amid the city's noises, I must think of mangoes leaning to the river's brink, and dexterous Davy climbing high above, the gold fruits ebon speckled to remove, and toss them quickly in the tangled mass of wis-wis twisted round the guinea grass. And Cyril coming through the bramble track, a prize bunch of bananas on his back. And Georgie, none could ever dive like him, throwing his scanty clothes off for a swim. And schoolboys from Bridge Tunnel going home, watching the waters downward dash and foam. There is no daytime dream. This is no daytime dream. There's something in it. Oh, something's happening here, there, this very minute. Sorry, I'm making more errors tonight than usual. The thoughts of home. And he was having thoughts of home in a sometimes inclement, sometimes hostile land, but he was not having thoughts of home from a concentration camp, to be sure. Much to our benefit, as all these extravagant incarcerations of persons, mainly good law-abiding citizens, people with no criminal record of any sort. This is only going to harm posterity, harm our posterity. December 1919. Last night I heard your voice, Mother, the words you sang to me, when I, a little barefoot boy, knelt down against your knee. And tears gushed from my heart, Mother, and passed beyond its wall. But though the fountain reached my throat, the drops refused to fall. 'Tis 10 years since you died, Mother, just 10 dark years of pain. And oh, I only wish that I could weep just once again. The Spanish Needle, one of his more famous poems early in his career when he burst upon the English-speaking scene. The Spanish Needle. Lovely, dainty Spanish needle, with your yellow flower and white, dew-bedecked and softly sleeping, do you think of me tonight? Shadowed by the spreading mango, nodding by the rippling stream, tell me, dear plant of my childhood, do you of the exile dream? Do you see me by the brookside, catching crabs beneath the stone, as you did the day you whispered, leave the harmless deers alone? Do you see me in the meadow, coming from the woodland spring, with a bamboo on my shoulder and a pail slung from a string? Do you see me all expectant, lying in an orange grove, while the swee-swees sing above me, waiting for my elf-eyed love? Lovely, dainty Spanish needle, source to me of sweet delight, in your far-off sunny Southland, do you dream of me tonight? The Plateau. It was the silver, heart-enveloping view of the mysterious sea line far away, seen only on a gleaming gold-white day, that made it dear and beautiful to you. And Laura loved it for the little hill, where the quartz sparkled fire, barren and dun, whence in the shadow of the dying sun she contemplated Hallow's wooden mill. While Danny liked the sheltering high grass in which he lay upon a clear, dry night, to hear and see, screened skillfully from sight, the happy lovers of the valley pass. But oh, I loved it for the big round moon that swung out of the clouds and swooned aloft, burning with passion, gloriously soft, lighting the purple flowers of fragrant June. Adolescence. There was a time when in late afternoon, the 4 o'clocks would fold up at day's close, pink-white in prayer. Under the floating moon, I lay with them in calm and sweet repose. And in the open spaces I could sleep, half naked to the shining worlds above. Peace came with sleep, and sleep was long and deep, gained without effort, sweet like early love. But now no balm, nor drug, nor weed, nor wine can bring true rest to cool my body's fever, nor sweeten in my mouth the acrid brine that salts my choicest drink and will forever. The next one may be the one poem that almost edges into that, the field of the maudlin. But I always give Claude the benefit. The Wild Goat. Oh, you would clothe me in the silken frocks and house me from the cold, and bind with bright bands my glossy locks, and buy me chains of gold, and give me meekly to do my will, the hapless sons of men. But the wild goat bounding on the barren hill droops in the grassy pen. A lot of lessons here. Heritage. Now the dead past seems vividly alive, and in this shining moment I can trace down through the vista of the vanished years your fawn-like form, your fond, elusive face. And suddenly some secret springs released, and unawares a riddle is revealed, and I can read like large black-lettered print what seemed before a thing forever sealed. I know the magic word, the graceful thought, the song that fills me in my lucid hours, the spirit's wine that thrills my body through and makes me music drunk, are yours, all yours. I cannot praise, for you have passed from praise. I have no tinted thought to paint you true, but I can feel and I can write the word. The best of me is but the least of you. We are moving into the territory where it's impossible to follow these poems. After the winter. Someday, when trees have shed their leaves, and against the morning's white, By the way, a word from our sponsor. This radio broadcast is brought to you by Abolish ICE. After the winter. Someday, when trees have shed their leaves, and against the morning's white, the shivering birds beneath the eaves have sheltered for the night, we'll turn our faces southward, love, toward the summer isle, where bamboos spire the shafted grove, and wide-mouthed orchids smile. And we will seek the quiet hill where towers the cotton tree, and leaps the laughing crystal rill, and works the droning bee. And we will build a cottage there beside an open glade, with black-ribbed bluebells blowing near, and ferns that never fade. That poem, you can see how derivative it is, but nevertheless, another one that was very big when first Claude McKay burst upon the scene. The tropics in New York. Bananas ripe and green, and ginger root, cocoa in pods, and alligator pears, and tangerines and mangoes and grapefruit, fit for the highest prize at parish fairs. Set in the window, bringing memories of fruit trees laden by low-singing rills, and dewy dawns and mystical blue skies in benediction over nun-like hills. My eyes grew dim, and I could no more gaze. A wave of longing through my body swept, and hungry for the old familiar ways, I turned aside and bowed my head and wept. Let us give pause to think about the wrongly detained by the instigation of the U.S. government today, who are perhaps thinking fond home thoughts. And if you can, do what you can to work toward their release and toward a reinstatement of justice, even an improvement upon what justice we had in this country before this fascist regime took to the helm. It was definitely far from ideal, and many persons have never been assured a fair hand meted out by the authorities, meted out by the halls of justice. But that is not a good reason to throw the whole concept of justice and fair play and honest dealing out the window. Please do what you can to topple this fascist regime. 6 months ago, nobody envisioned that so swiftly there would be concentration camps built upon American soil, but so it has been done. I will close with just a couple of lines which open the book. This is titled The Word. Oh, spread thy words like green fields, watered, fresh. The Word is God, and the Word is made flesh. Thank you for stopping by my channel. I hope to be doing more readings from Claude McKay, and in the description box I will link the 2 previous poetry readings I have given of Claude McKay's sonnets, as well as anything that I feel pertinent. Thank you again.